Our sponsors for this episode are Gambino's Pizza in Newton. Gambino's Pizza in Newton is located at 1029 Washington Road in Cedar Village. They are open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. If you love pizza as much as I do, you know that you always have time and room for pizza. Not only can you dine in or carry out, but they have a huge menu of items to pick from, including wings, pizzas, salad bar, and not only that, but they have the only pizza buffet in Newton. If you're looking for a family-friendly environment or just need to stop in for a quick lunch over the noon hour, Gambino's has got you covered. Visit Gambino's Pizza in Newton at 1029 Washington Road in Cedar Village, or give them a call at 316-866-1778. That's 316-866-1778 to order out or ask questions. You can even order online. Look them up on Facebook, give them a like, follow, and a share. Gambino's Pizza in Newton. Carlos's Kitchen and Cater. Carlos's Kitchen and Cater, located at 114 South Kansas Avenue in Newton, is one of Newton's best kept secrets. Or maybe you know about them and have already stopped in or carried out some of the most delicious Mexican food in our region. If you're just hearing about them, you need to give them a try. If you're a repeat customer, you'll already know why. Give Carlos's Kitchen and Cater a call at 316-804-0158. That's 316-804-0158. Or you can stop into 114, that's 114 South Kansas Avenue. Make sure to look them up on Facebook, give them a like, follow, and share. And don't forget, folks, tell your friends. Carlos's Kitchen and Cater. The Newton Kansan is Newton's longest-running local newspaper, covering all the stories, people, places, and things happening in our community. Chad Fry, the Kansan guy, editor of the Kansan, works diligently to ensure integrity, accuracy, and unbiased news is delivered to your doorstep 3 times a week for an unbeatable price. You can also sign up for online-only access for around $7 a month. That's 12 online papers a month for only $7. If you've not subscribed, it's time you do. Visit them in their office at 517 North Main Street. That's 517 North Main Street in Newton. Online at thekansan.com. That's thekansan.com. Or give them a call at 316-283-1500. That's 316-283-1500. Support local journalism, support the Kansan. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this HCT podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lance Gormley, and my 2 co-partners in crime are Andy Ortiz, local entrepreneur, businessman, and USD 373 school board member, and Chad Fry, affectionately known as the Kansan guy, editor of the Kansan paper. How are the both of you doing today?
Really good.
Good.
Really good.
Good.
Yep.
Chad?
Honestly, I've been getting sick over the last several days and experiencing massive fatigue, so I'm not really good, but I will do my best to be here and be smart.
Well, I'll say this.
Thank you for locking in, brother.
Yes. Chad will be here come rain, sunshine, weather good, weather bad, sick or not sick, but if he has eye surgery, he can't be here, folks.
That happened last week.
You got another one getting ready to be done.
No, the last one was done last Thursday.
So you scheduled it when we didn't have a podcast. I appreciate that. I appreciate you thinking about us on that. You know, Chad didn't want to miss another podcast. So
to be honest, I schedule those things at times that work into my schedule nicely. So surgery on Thursday, checkup on Friday, and then I have Saturday and Sunday off to just kind of recover. So hopefully by Monday I'm good. But
so you'll be seeing like a brand new baby. You're already seeing like a brand new baby, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so in advance, folks, if you hear the rain on the tin roof, it's because we're having some inclement weather. So enjoy the ambiance.
Our studio is not completely soundproof yet.
We don't want to be soundproof. You know that, right? We're all about the entertainment and the education and the information, and not only that, but the experience. So if you're not having a podcast where you can hear the rain on a tin roof, you're just not doing it right.
That's right, baby.
You're not doing it right. Okay, so before we go any farther, I just want to be able to turn it over to Chad to talk about what things are going on in the Kansan before we get into our national topic this week, and we're just going to title it Death to Extremism. So, Chad, what do you got?
Well, the number one thing that I worked on about 5 o'clock this morning was what's going on with Spencer and Hillside and the disaster that is becoming because of weather. So it's great that we've got rain on the tin roof today because that's been the problem. And so what's happening is that, these are multi-million-dollar projects, and they have been delayed severely all year, all summer long. The way it was supposed to work was they were going to close down Spencer to northbound traffic, and you could go southbound on Spencer only. And that's to get into the logistics park / Newton Industrial Park. So everything was supposed to go southbound. To get out going northbound, you were supposedly going to be able to use one lane of Hillside, which was a gravel road. That they have decided to, and that was a disaster in and of itself when you start talking about funding and requests for funding and yada yada yadas. Hillside was supposed to be open northbound only in one lane, but because of the rain and everything else, it feels like it's been closed more than it's been open. And then just recently, a friend of mine who's a farmer out in that area spent pretty much their entire day on their tractor pulling people out of Hillside. And that was, I think, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. So now everything is being re-envisioned, so to speak. Spencer was supposed to be theoretically finished within the next 3 months or so, but they're going to have somebody come in and put some temporary fixes on it so they can just open it up to both lanes of traffic. And the project, as it were, to resurface is going to be put on hold until next year.
So be thinking about that, folks. It's a used. Both of those roads are have some good traffic on them. I don't know if I would technically call high traffic roads. Spencer, yes. That whole, I've seen it. I've been there. I've had to go down there, and it creates quite the situation. I think people are ready for that construction to be done. But so what else you got, Chad?
What else do I got? I don't even remember what I did out of the county commission this week, but they're going to redo a bridge on Southwest 14th.
Okay.
Pardon me. Basically between the railroad and the wetland park. Okay. There's a bridge in there. And somehow that ended up on the county coffers. So it's never been pulled into the city. So county found a way to get 85% of that paid by the state.
Nice.
That's coming in 2027.
Nice.
So that's the boring crap that I've got in the Kansan right now. Here's the fun one. We have a Newtonian, a Newton native. He's now living in Hutchinson, who is about to be inducted into the National Agricultural Hall of Fame.
Interesting. Wait, is that's coming out in the Thursday
edition?
Okay, very good.
Super exciting, super cool. He's going to be joining people like Sonny Perdue, Bob Dole. These are like legends in the United States in the Agricultural Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So got to talk to him about his past and his, what it was like to grow up in Newton before I got here, because, I haven't always been here. And talk about some elementary schools that no longer exist and all kinds of fun stuff. It was an enjoyable time.
That was like almost gaslighting with that last little comment.
Yeah, there was an ulterior motive there, Chad. We know it. Yeah.
Elementary schools.
Roosevelt no longer exists.
Oh, is that what
sure, sure.
Yeah. Are you taking digs at Andy already today?
That's where he went to elementary school.
We haven't even gotten to the good soup yet. Come on.
He was long gone before that whole thing came down.
He didn't even know that happened. You just alerted it to him. So you don't know this most recent elementary school.
See how we just lean into it?
Will that be one of the political discussions? I doubt, but I really hope the Railer Way resurfaces itself for people to discuss with whether or not individuals supported that or were against the changing of the Railer Way for... that's important to me.
I think it's fair to ask the question, would you have supported Walton?
Yeah.
Because that'll tell you where people are at, given where we're at today. The right decision was made. It's obvious right now.
Yeah.
When you look at everything that's happening,
Yes.
Yeah.
the right decision was made, and it was real hard, but people made that decision, right?
Yeah.
And people that say, you know, there was this last forum we had, it was really interesting. One of our guys running had said something about, inferred to there was some weird stuff happening behind the scenes, and I'm like, why don't we just say it? You tell me what you think was happening, and I'll tell you in front of everybody what that really was.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't care what you try to make it behind the scenes. Did the right decision get made? Because you can kerfuffle all kinds of stuff and pretend and do all these weird little backdoor stuff and saying that guys that shut it down did the backdoor stuff. But at the end of the day, when you look at the information, if you don't see how clear that was, let's go and say we're going to open an elementary school right now, 7 miles down the road or whatever, and spend $2.1 million to operate it and staff we don't have. That's a good idea, right? I'm sorry. It's just so obvious to me on this stuff.
It's probably a good idea to some who want that, but see, in this
but we're already not commissioned to do that. We're commissioned to look at everything.
Yeah.
And what's best for the future.
For the whole.
Not for what I feel right here and right now.
Well, politics is special
and
interest,
it's unbelievable. So,
speaking.
anyways, we should ask that question. Those are two big hitter questions that tore our district up for 3 years with terrible leadership.
Yeah.
And it wasn't it wasn't at the head. It wasn't Fred Van Rank, and he had to deal with what he had to deal with.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't set
It was
policy.
us.
Always
It
remember
was the
that.
board.
Yeah. The board is the one. That's where the buck stops. Your elected official. There's many things that can happen at a city level, and in some cases, it might be mismanagement at a manager level or staff level, but ultimately, like we'll just say Newton City Commission, the only two people that the commission employs are the city manager and the city attorney. So the buck stops at the city manager for staffing issues, right? If something they're doing is going awry, then there needs to be accountable there.
Unless you have board members pushing them to bring in certain staff, and then all of a sudden want to hide behind that they were pushing them to do it.
Yeah. Which
there's a lot of dynamics.
There's a lot of dynamics,
right? And the people that don't know.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, see how I start crap?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, but I'm being honest, right?
Andy's inferring.
In both of these.
I love
especially in Walton, context matters.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the context of 2023. I mean, in both of these, I'm not talking about the context of 2022 or 2023. I'm talking about the decade and the decade before and the decade before.
Wow.
Yeah. Taking it in context.
Context matters.
Yeah. We're just already playing right into some of the stuff that
we
we're
are.
talking about.
We are.
I do want to say something to the community.
At a local level, it's inference and trying to twist and mold and shape things to meet a narrative that you want to be met for your own special interest, and then demonize the other individual who doesn't think like you as the enemy. Go ahead, Andy.
I do want to say this. I understand if I don't get reelected because of how bad that was, and I will take responsibility for my part on that board because I was in the stuff I had to deal with what I had to deal with. I don't believe in titles, right? And some people do, right? But I carry it with everybody because if a decision was made, it was made by all of us, right? And most of the community, that's how it rolls. Yeah. That being said, I'm trying really hard. The reason I almost did not run was because of the baggage that a few of the board members that are still there carry because of those decisions that were made and because of how all that was handled, which was very snarky and immature and just lack of leadership all across the board on those things. And that's not a secret. Right, I'm just the one to say that says the stuff that I get in trouble for just saying how it is, and I'm not trying to be ugly. It's just it is what it is. But I do understand if people don't want me on there because of that flavor and that stench is still there and I have to wear that. And I'm 100% understanding of that. So moving forward, the community is going to do their thing and they're going to vote in the people they think is best for the job. And I don't believe in titles. I just want to get some stuff done. And I do have a small little thing that I'd like to push forward. And it's going to take every bit of 4 years to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're going to have to expound on that whenever there comes a time for you to be in a forum. And I don't know how, forums are rather controlled, right? So they don't ask the question. You can't give the answer. But there's got to be a way to get that message out there. Chad, you got anything else you want to cover about what's coming up in the Kansan?
I'm going to be doing something on the county appraiser here because she spent some time talking over at the county commission, and she was responding to questions raised by commissioners and also things that were going on in some city commissions as well. And so I think it's kind of important, and also a little bit to things that get seen on social media. I mean, an appraiser shows up at your house and their job is to appraise your house. And they have every right to be there, and they are doing their duty as dictated to them, not only by the appraiser's office and by extension our county, but also by state statute. And people just totally wig out every time.
Well, and I had it, and I'm not faulting. Okay, so it's interesting, two-part thing. Lately, what we've heard a lot of from these different entities, because everybody's taxes are going up, that then the finger's getting pointed at your evaluations going up. Well, how does the evaluation go up? Well, the appraisal, right? So you get your house appraised, evaluation goes up. So it's interesting that the appraiser's
and there is a process. There is a process for evaluating the assessed valuation of your home.
Yeah, and I don't know if they all do it. Second part, I don't know if they all do this, but I had a weird situation when somebody came by to appraise the property, and I would just say, if anybody's listening, and I don't know if they all do this or how many people, and I'm not being critical, I'm just not in any way, I'm not criticizing any way, but a courtesy knock goes a long way.
Sure.
And I don't think that they did that at my residence. I was basically just came out of the back door, and here's somebody on my property, and it's like, okay, so I hate to say we live in the day and age in which people will say that they are somebody that they're not, and then gain access to your property, right? So if you were to just knock on the door, right, and then identify yourself, which like I said, I'm not going to say that that's not part. I don't know, okay? But my situation
all I'm going to say, Lance, is that I lived in an era where they had to actually show up to read your gas meter, and they had to show up to read your electrical meter, and they had to show up to read your water meter.
Yeah.
So there's people coming and going from your property.
Yeah. Same, but then again, I mean, was there, and we'll move on to what we're talking about. But was there?
That said, when the Jehovah's Witnesses showed up, I felt very, very empowered to say, "Get the hell out of my way."
Well, they like to knock and let people know. They don't just wander into your backyard.
So yeah. Oh, if you're in the backyard, they'll come.
Oh goodness. Okay, we're getting deep. All right. So if you don't have anything more, Chad, I just want to let people know. I know that we had a lot of people saying and sending us messages and telling us that they really appreciate us talking about upcoming events. And I'm just going to defer and say once again, if you want to know about upcoming events, there's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel or to talk about it on the program. Just subscribe to the Kansan. The Kansan has an extensive list of everything that's going on. There's even free places you can go, like Choose Newton. Obviously, it doesn't cover everything in Harvey County. I know that there's a Heston area chamber or a Heston Chamber of Commerce. There's a Newton area chamber of commerce. There's other entities that you can go and get this information, and they work really, really hard to do it. So go to them and find that. Go to Choose Newton. Utilize their website. Utilize the work and the effort.
Why are you setting up our next move so well?
And show up downtown
you're showing
tomorrow
you're
night.
showing our legs, bro.
That'll just make people infer.
Show up downtown tomorrow night, man. Thursday night, third Thursday.
Yeah, and I'll be doing an
The
update
marching
with the
band
Newton
will be
area.
there.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yep, we're changing some of the days when we do the Newton Area Chamber of Commerce update, specifically because Kelsey Weaver, Director of Communications and Marketing for the Newton Area Chamber of Commerce, has moved on, and I know that they're going to replace that person. There was even some discussion. They have an intern right now. Maybe they're going to get the intern in there. So we're having fun with it. I appreciate the Newton Area Chamber of Commerce for partnering with us. I appreciate Harvey County Sheriff Gay for partnering with us. I appreciate Missy from Mayor Missy, and I'm not going to butcher her last name, from Burton and Dennis. I mean, all these different organizations and entities are seeing the value in partnering with us, and I just want to say thank you. So without further ado, I want to title this next part where we're going to spend a lot of time on this. There was some things that happened this week. It's kind of interesting if you listen to last week's podcast where we talked about some things, and then shortly after the podcast had concluded, just a true tragedy took place in our country with, I'm going to call it the political murder of Charlie Kirk. So before we get into the podcast here, I'm titling it Death to Extremism. Death to Extremism. And it's important that we all come together on a specific definition of what extremism is. And I thought it was interesting as I researched this and I looked it up, what is extremism? There's a lot of interesting definitions of what extremism is, which just goes back to the fact that people, you've got to be careful what you're looking at. This is what the Oxford Dictionary says. That's great. Webster Dictionary. That's great. But I wanted to pull one that I thought was slightly different yet interesting, and I think that there's some. We talk about inference. That's the word of the day here. But according to www.gov.uk. And we all know a lot of what's going on in the UK right now and how they view extremism. So just the working definition that we can apply to this is extremism is promotion or advancement of an ideology based on violence, hatred, or intolerance that aims to negate or destroy the fundamental rights and freedoms of others. Now, remember, in the UK, they do not have a First Amendment right to protected speech. Okay, so we've seen a lot of this in the UK, not to get into this, right, because this is not the topic of our discussion, but when you're talking about the UK, their definition is slightly different than the definition of what we may find as extremism, to not include, like, saying something that would be considered an intolerant thing to say, or might cause offense, or might be against one religion or another, or might be against one race or another, or might be against something that you find morality or morally problematic. So going with that, gentlemen, I want another definition here. I want to throw out another definition that I think can be included in this. Stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism involves influential figures using inflammatory but deniable rhetoric to incite statistically probable but individually unpredictable acts of violence from a susceptible audience. Unlike direct incitement, the rhetoric is vague or coded, allowing the instigator plausible deniability for the resulting violence, even though a connection between their words and the violent outcome can be statistically established. This phenomenon creates a climate of fear, leading to ideology-motivated attacks by individuals who may be labeled as lone wolves. What do you guys think about what took place?
I feel like you're leading me down the alley that I want to go down because I'm mad and I wish somebody would. But I got to step outside and remember there's danger down that alley. So I have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm looking forward to this discussion, and I appreciate you having the guts to put it out there so we can just talk openly as friends and people that don't see everything the same way, and people that still love each other at the end of the day and move along with life, because we all share so much in this community. But I do have a lot of thoughts about just the fragmentation of media today, us trying to find ourselves and figuring out where the real channels are and who's just a pundit and who's a real journalist and who is, I mean, it's just a mess. The agencies, marketing agencies, the things that you need to keep journalism going cost money. How does that work on top of being careful as we navigate our communities with people that want us to just sow discord? To death to extremism. People want you to be this side or that side. I had a good friend of mine say, you know, I have to start questioning you because you have to choose a side on this situation. You can't just be this, or you have to be either this or that in this situation. And I said, I think that's very dangerous.
It is.
So for you to tell me that, I think is the problem.
It's very much the problem.
When we have people that are dictating to you that on this situation, you have to be on this side or that side and not really articulate to me what those two sides are and what they mean to you and what they are, who are they,
Yes.
who are them.
Yes.
You know, these quick
Interesting, yeah.
these quick splices
Yes.
with the theys and the thems that you're hearing all over the place. You remember, those are your aunts and uncles, your teachers, your ministers, your kids' parents' friends, and some of your friends that you grew up with.
Your neighbors, the fabric of
The
our
people
society.
you went to college with and grew up with in your adult life, the
Yeah.
kids you grew up with as a child, the people you worked with at one point, spent more time with them than you did your own family for 10 years of your life before you changed jobs or they changed jobs. And then you had this connection, and now all of a sudden you see each other online and you're seeing them differently and you're demonizing the way they think. That's dangerous.
Because I don't agree. Yeah. Okay.
So-
So, enter this: us versus them. People. Who is us, and who is them? And this is where my mind went right after I saw that. It seems like, I said this, that it's an us versus them. So then I had to ask myself, well, who is us? People that think like me, people that identify with the same ideological beliefs as me, right? Okay, but that's a very loose definition. And who's them? People that don't agree with me, people that don't have the same ideological beliefs as I do. And I thought, okay, danger zone. This is not who Lance is. Okay, this is not who Lance is. Yes, because of what took place, emotion became high, and then you start seeing all these people coming out and saying, oh, this person deserved this, they're a this, they're a that, they're a this, they're a that, and it's like, wait a second here. It's coming so fast, and people are consuming this so fast that they're not even thinking about humanizing an individual. They're not thinking that maybe what they're consuming is not completely true. I even saw this, and it was like, it was so, and I'm interesting is not the right word. Disheartening would probably be a better word for somebody like me to look at all of, just take it all together. We had the act against an individual, and I don't even want to call him Tyler Robinson the assassin, because I think that's just interesting. I want to call him Tyler Robinson the murderer.
So he's a
murderer.
Here's where my brain's at. Okay. Extremism knows no group nor boundary. And this is where our conversation started, right? We're starting with extremism. Extremism knows no group, no boundary. So you can paint yourself as whatever you want. Someone else is going to look at you and think you're an extremist.
Yeah.
I don't care what letter is behind your name on your voter registration card. You are not immune to extremism.
And it's the
And your party and your group or your clan not immune to extremism.
Do you think this is okay?
My ancestors were branded as extremists
Yeah.
because we baptized adults. Extremism knows no group and no boundary. So right now, as I've been watching the discourse, if you're just doing this, guess what? You are an extremist and you are part of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. What you said is very, to me, is very wise. The word coming to my mind right now is what you said is coming from wisdom, right? To be able to take a step back, look back, pull your emotions back, and say, well, wait a second here. If we have two groups, right? Well, okay, so going down to this, why do you guys think, and what is the psychology behind the us versus them, the me versus you? What is it?
I think it's lazy, and it gives you an ability to dehumanize because you're not using people's names. So inside your spirit, it's easier to look through it and make them an object or a less of.
Yes.
Because some of them are my aunt. And when I say her name, if I was to insert people and I was to say her name, it would ground me.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for us just to throw those quips out there and just box off groups of people with the worst intentions of where we put those people in a box of murderers and then put everybody else, because that son of a gun did a horrific, nasty thing that humans shouldn't do, which is took somebody's life. But then we put a whole group of people in that same box, and we call them the they. Now they're all that one person's actions.
They're all going to go get a gun and shoot me.
And now you get a group of people that says, watch this. And then you have pundits saying, we want people to be scared. That group should be scared. They should tell their leader to calm down, or they should kill more of them so they know to tailor it back a little bit. Yeah. Then you get a crazy on the other side that says, oh, I'm going to get 6 of my friends. We've been waiting for this. Yeah. And we're going to hit. And now you have a whole nother layer of hell that we can't pull back in.
Yeah.
One human life, I hope we take this, and it's not about the politics, it's about hurting people.
Correct.
I hope we understand what happens through our words when we take it to the levels that we've taken it to, and then we've let our friends next to us justify using those they them terms.
Yeah. Which ultimately, okay, are we saying then, from what I'm hearing, that it starts with worldview, us, them, they, okay, to then put them in a category of not being human, right? We don't humanize somebody, right? So I'm grasping my words here, but it starts with a worldview, then rhetoric. Once then rhetoric gives birth to emotional, inflammatory ideology, and then that leads to action. So it's like I'm trying to piece this out and understand how do we get here. Then I think history, well, this has kind of been something. I mean, we were talking before the program about all the way back in the Civil War days when they were having the discussion over slavery, and one representative beat another senator halfway to death, and we had a war over ideological differences and could not see that we were one United States. So, and even then it was Republicans and Democrats, right? So then
there's an important historical footnote that needs to be placed right there. And it is that the role and rhetoric of Republicans and Democrats since then has flipped.
Completely.
Totally. I mean, if you don't believe me, just go back and do a little reading. Okay? The Republican Party of the Civil War reads, looks, acts, smells, and speaks like the Democratic Party of 2025. And you can say the exact same thing about the Democratic Party of the Civil War.
But I would say both are just disingenuous, right?
Well, I'm just saying that's a historical footnote that we absolutely have to put there. And the reason is this: it's all about rhetoric. Because I can't tell you how many times I have seen in the discourse on X, it's always the Democrats who kill people. It's always the liberals. No, it's not. Once again, extremism knows no camp. And the political violence knows no camp. Period.
Would you guys agree with my statement? And I've said this in the past, and through my research and studying politics and all that, right? Is that we really are in what would be considered a cold civil war?
I don't know. I'm not that engaged at that level to be able to say those kind of big things. I do want to push back a little bit on what you said, but I don't have the information to really put it all out. Because you're right in the big picture, like, yeah, extremism, you can start killing on both sides. But I feel like it's coming more so from one set of ideology that happens to lean more further left, the majority of it. I know it happens and Republicans have done the same thing. But I feel like the numbers are the scales tip, but I don't have all the data. So I'm going to look that up, and I'll share that with you in a text message just so we can ponder about it and go, what is this formula? Why do I feel this? Am I being manipulated? Well, okay. I'm open enough to take that on, right?
And there was something that goes with this. Okay, I was reading here this morning, just trying to see if there was anything else that maybe we want to bring up on the program. And right now, the Trump administration is getting criticized by obviously a certain few media outlets, because there was a study that was done that was on a government website that said that the mass majority, like 80% of radical extremist violence towards individuals came from the conservatives. So there was a study. So then and then you're like, oh, well, why did they take it down? You do a little bit of research on that, and you find out that it's all about terminology and definition, right? So for instance, we would not consider, and it was not considered in that what was going on during the Black Lives Matter protests. That wasn't considered liberals that were going out and committing acts of violence. That
wasn't in the study. Well,
yeah.
this is
So
leading to the obvious, right?
Rebrand.
Everywhere we look for information, you're either going to get a Fox News version or a CNN version.
Correct.
It's how do we get that version that just gives us the information we're looking for, is not filtered, as because people can take a chart, and we all know this, especially at this table, and you can do a lot with that, right? What is the motive? What is the underlining toe? And unfortunately, when you have two parties that are warring with each other, spreading the country apart, either you're on this side or that side, which is where we're at.
That's what they want.
That's what they want.
And there is a way out.
More than 60%, I would say, this is an Andy number. It's just a feeling number from my circles of influence, people I deal with every day from different walks of life, are not seeing that. They are getting in one camp or the other. And these kind of acts of violence and ridiculousness that we just saw happen to Charlie Kirk, poor guy, rest his soul, and I pray for his family and his children. These things that happen make people make stronger commitments to those this way or that way. And then the manipulation you see online that I've seen just over the last week, anybody that, like I was saying earlier before we started this conversation, before the mics were on and everything, anybody that sits and watches 2 or 3 segments full form, you kind of understand the flavor of it and the goal. And when you're debating, like when somebody wants to debate for a living, Charlie just took it to the next level, and then he saw something in it, saw some value, started creating a business around it, and he did what entrepreneurs do, right? But at the end of the day, this camp and that camp, I don't understand why so many of our friends and family, and I'm saying that not they and them, I'm saying our friends and families, because we all have them, if you're paying attention, are not seeing that. We should not be in a position to be able to have to choose, because any subject, I'll say abortion, we talk about abortion, we're all three of us are going to have different nuances with abortion if we really talk about it as if we know we can together. Because we know each other well enough to know this is a safe place to have that conversation. We're going to land at different variations of that because of our life experiences. Right?
Right.
Just that one topic that's a big, hard topic, but then there's people out there that are boom, boom, and there's murder. There's another big topic.
When you bring that topic up, it's one of the things that I've always found interesting is that when I sit down and I start talking about that particular issue, abortion.
Okay, I was murder or abortion.
No, abortion.
Yeah.
When I sit down and start talking about abortion, my default always goes to my own human experience.
Exactly.
And nobody cares. Nobody cares. And when I say nobody cares, it's because I am speaking to people who do not think like me. And they don't care what my experience was 16 years ago. They don't. They don't care what my family went through. They don't. They see this is the way. Period. Right there, I have encapsulated the entire problem that we have in this country.
Yeah. And I say
with all the
we
things.
refuse to see each other as human beings.
Well, and where do we go from this?
And I can put a really fine point on that for folks at some point too. But we have to start seeing each other as human beings.
And how do we go from, this goes back to what the us versus them, how do we go from the I to we, right? So Chad has an individual life experience and he bases his worldview off of those experiences. You have a unique belief about something. We are all in that boat. We all have our own life experiences where, I'm not going to say there is no absolute truth, but I'm going to say I believe in absolute truth, but I also believe in individual experience and truth, and us being the sum total of our life's experiences.
That's good.
So if I'm to say my political beliefs are based upon my experiences, that's an I. But somehow or another, it quickly goes from I to we. And I have experienced this in my bids for running for office, right? I joke about it. It's like, okay, so I identify as one political party more than the other. Okay. There's also the fact that I live in an area where there is a majority of one political party over another, right? I'm a moderate. Always have been a moderate. I see from other people's perspective, but then you get into the other political party, the other, which that's their definition. They're other versus me. I'm not other versus them. I don't look at them as they. I look at them as whoever they are individually, and realizing that we all have different beliefs and understanding and ideologies. But this one demonizes me as though I'm this party over here. So the hatred comes that way.
Yeah, you
right?
get it from both sides.
And then because I'm not over here in this camp, then this party demonizes me. So I got it coming, like you said, I got it coming from both ways. And on top of it, if I told you guys some of the stories that I experienced just by speaking out or speaking up and not agreeing with both sides or one side or the other, I mean, I've had just, you wouldn't, people come after me.
Let me tell you a story.
My kids, my property, my pets, it's pretty interesting stuff. And I'll say that no one necessarily has ever tried to assassinate me physically or kill me physically, and I'm not crying over any spilled milk here. But man, if they cannot win over an argument with you, the first thing that they do is start to character assassinate you. And they will try over and over and over, and then it almost gets really, really weird because they just don't ever stop. And the story just gets twisted and gets worse and worse and worse. So that way they can just paint you out to be the most horrible person in the hope that somebody that reads it or sees it will act out against you in some physical way. And that's politics as usual right now, is it not?
Yes.
And that goes back to that stochastic terrorism.
Yes. So,
and I'm sorry, when Trump was running, okay, and I'm not giving Trump any kind of off the hook because he uses some pretty inflammatory rhetoric as well, okay? He definitely, in an effort to win an election, drew a completely bold line down the middle and says it's us versus them. So to say that he is not responsible for that type of rhetoric would not be honest. But at the same time, during the election, and I'm going to go with it, a lot of Democratic Party leaders were saying things that I would consider extremely inflammatory about we need to go out in the streets and we need to do something. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to
clips.
Yeah. And it's like, well, what are you doing? You know, I mean, you are continuing the divide.
They're fanning the flames.
Fanning the flames.
So this is something that's been going through my head for the last couple of minutes, okay? My late friend Tony Brown and myself prevented an assassination in Northern Ireland. Think about that. And all we did to prevent that death was allow for one member of a political camp to meet a member of another political camp and remove the numerical label and put a name on him. That's it.
Humanized them.
When you've got a very hard man who's participated in multiple deaths looking at you with almost tears in his eyes saying, I'm so glad you're here because I now know this guy's got a wife, he's got 3 kids, and he's not just a number on a sheet anymore. Thank you. That's a pretty big message. So when I sit here and I say we have to start seeing each other as people and as human beings, I mean, I truly mean it. That thing goes international. Okay? And just so you understand, I'm talking about a member of the IRA and a member of the UDA. And these are 2 groups that have been killing each other for a really long time up to that point. And it was all political baloney. All of it.
Us versus them.
Us versus them.
Right back to where, yeah.
And I really hope that we as a nation can get a handle on this before we get into that kind of nonsense. Because I can tell you right now, 90% of Americans are too darn soft to deal with living life that way. The way that they had to live it for 40 years in Belfast. We don't got it in us.
Okay, so and hopefully not moving this conversation along when you both want to rest here. So if you have anything you want to say about anything that we've already talked about, then just interject that. But moving on, we're seeing, and all of us are seeing, like what we mentioned, one side is pushing this narrative, the other side is pushing their narrative. You've got people out here celebrating the death of this person. You got people that are just completely just blindsided by that and don't know how to deal with it. You've got all this information coming out, and the immediate, like I literally saw a social media post of this Tyler, what was his name again? Almost want to forget his name. Tyler Robinson, okay, the person that murdered Charlie Kirk. there was a picture of him standing in his bedroom with a Trump shirt on. Okay? A little bit of fact checking, and people were able to go back and find out, no, in fact, here's the picture of him standing in his room. He had a green shirt on, but somebody photoshopped a Trump shirt on him so that the narrative could be that he was a conservative.
And people photoshopped photos of him with Tim Walz.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yes. And then you have to figure out, okay, in AI, it's like almost not like this is really challenging people to think about what's going on. And
not to be flippant, but you all got to up your game, because all it took for me was one glance and I could tell it was fake.
Yeah. But
just saying.
Yeah. Well, okay. And so then I thought this was interesting as I was researching. The AP, which most would say is left-wing, okay, has individuals coming out and fact-checking information. And the claim gets made. Everybody believes the claim. The claim circulates. So your saturation point for that claim might be in the hundreds of thousands. But of those hundreds of thousands who initially believed the claim, nobody goes back to research whether that claim is accurate or not. That's where we go back to conversations we've had about claim warrant data. And it was by Melissa Golden, and it was at 9:11 p.m., September 13, 2025. And the fact focus was the assassination of Charlie Kirk prompts flood of false and misleading claims online. One claim was Robinson is a registered Republican. The facts, it's false. Utah records say Robinson was registered as a voter, but not affiliated with either political party. His voter status is inactive, meaning he did not vote in 2 regular general elections after receiving a notice from his county clerk, according to the Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Robinson's family said he had become more political in recent years and had criticized Kirk, mentioning that he was due to appear at an event in Utah. Cox stated the ammunition found at the scene was engraved with taunting, anti-fascist, and meme culture messaging. But, okay, you guys want to even know that then? You want to fact check that? The fact check of that is that they said he was not affiliated with either political party because his voter registration had lapsed. But do you guys know what his affiliated party was when he voted before? The Democrat Party. So even when you go to fact check, you still have to dig deeper to get a fact check of that. He wasn't an unaffiliated voter. So I'm not pointing a finger trying to say that somehow or another he was a Democrat.
At the time that this occurred, he was an unaffiliated voter.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't even registered.
He may have been affiliated at one time.
Yeah. And if you
and straight up, every one of us can go down and change our affiliation at any time.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that I've always kind of wondered. I mean, what really makes you a Republican or a Democrat? Is it your voter registration? Because you can vote, you can change that, and it's you that decides.
And there's a lot of people like in our community that are Democrats. Okay, and even then, all these definitions
Democrats.
are
they're politically
lucrative.
Democrats, but they're registered as Republicans.
Yes.
And it's because, like, they are like me, and they got so tired of never having a decision.
Yeah. And then you go back to, what is a Democrat? We've had this conversation. It's almost like our conversations that we've had on this podcast are prophetic in a way, because we're having discussions that I know many, many people are having, but not enough people are having.
So which one of us is Elijah and which one of us is Elijah? And
yeah. Well, the question then becomes, what is a Democrat? Going back to what you said. If you ask somebody, and I've said this before, and this is the confusing part of it all. If you say, what is a Republican? And you ask 100 people what a Republican is, and you ask them to write down their own definition, okay? There might be some consistencies there, like they're conservative. Well, what's a conservative, right? In policymaking, what is conservatism? Is conservatism, and we've dealt with this in our own community, right? We take a policy issue, let's just say, and I'm not going to get into that. It's just we have seen ourselves that even in our own community, that being a conservative, the definition of that changes based upon policy, of whether or not we look at something in a conservative light this way or a conservative light this way. And then you just keep going, and this pot of chili, I'm going to call it a pot of chili, just keeps getting stirred and stirred and stirred. And is there really any consistency among it? And then you have political figures that step out, okay, Trump being one of them, Kamala Harris being another, and our most recent ones. And this definition then changes. Like, Republicans are for the blue-collar worker. Democrats are for the blue-collar worker.
I'm just going to say y'all need to take a little bit of a lesson from Mennonites, because we talk about conservatives and we talk about liberals, and we know exactly what that means in those circles. Okay? If you're a conservative Mennonite, you can have a car, but it can't have chrome bumpers. You can't smoke. You can't drink. Depending on where you're at in a conservative church, you won't have a TV or a computer. You want a TV? You want a computer? Oh, you got to come over and become a liberal Mennonite. You want to drink beer? You need to come over and be a liberal Mennonite. You want to smoke? You need to come over and be a liberal Mennonite, specifically in the past, General Conference. We knew what all those things meant. Politically speaking, in this country today, y'all have no frickin' clue what conservative or liberal means.
But I'm a conservative, Chad. I'm a conservative, Chad. Don't you know that? Now ask me what a conservative is.
What's a conservative,
Andy
Lance?
and I will have some things if Andy identifies, well, if you identify as a conservative. And then the question then becomes, okay, and then we're getting real deep here, all right, is what is liberal and what is conservative? And somewhere at some point in this whole thing, they become one.
If you go back far enough, conservatives stated that they were against change and against change of the Constitution. And liberals were in favor of liberty and making sure that policy fits within the Constitution.
Okay.
So even then, they weren't really that different because it was all based on the Constitution.
And we're getting run out of time. We'll try to keep this at an hour, but there was two more things that I wanted to cover real fast. One, I'll just make this statement. You need to be very careful what you're reading. In the digital age, when it comes to anybody can start a blog or whatever the case may be, I just want to run over some of these things, okay? I typed in, was Charlie Kirk a racist? Okay? This wasn't the only thing that I did. I typed in a lot of just generic things. But if you look that up, the very first thing that generates is racism in the law at racism.org. The headline is Charlie Kirk, white supremacist dead at 31. Then it goes down to say that Time Magazine, Trump blames the left for violence, more comes from the right. The Economist, is radical left violence really on the rise in America? Of course, they were going to say no. The Clarion Ledger, after Kirk murder, Trump blamed radical left. Do right-wing extremists kill more people? Anti-Defamation League, murder and extremism in the United States in 2024. People Magazine, DOJ quietly deletes study after Charlie Kirk's death that says right. Okay, all of these, what is stopping me from going and saying the Kansas conservative and then putting out whatever information I want?
Nothing.
Based upon my opinion, okay? Not facts.
Well, we're doing it right
not
here.
Truth.
I mean, that's part of the deal, right? Like, we're not, like, he's a journalist. I'm not a journalist.
Yeah.
I'm a community engagement pundit.
Yeah. Some would call me a community activist.
Yeah. But we all have our different profiles, but this is the deal, right? You have so many people out there. Man, this thing is listening to us like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I'm sure.
Well, you're typing something in and it's generating things that we've talked about.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, and then AI and the whole thing.
So, but I think that's the deal, right? And there's another deal. You put something into AI, you get people writing songs and they send it to you. I wrote this song. It's like, you didn't write that song. Grok wrote that song.
Yeah.
You didn't write that email. Grok wrote that email, and you changed a couple words.
Yep.
I mean, I actually do that because I'm dyslexic, so it helps me in some things to make sure that I'm lining things up a little better than I would with my own accord, because it takes me less time to type in what I generally want to say, and I say fix this as an email, and I put it in, and it shoots it back to me, and I may work a few things in it just to make it sound like me, but at the end of the day, there's bots out there from other countries in our social media feeds feeding us stuff to cause discourse here in the United States. Mm-hmm. People do not understand that's happening.
Probably more than 90% of the responses you see on X are bots.
Yes.
And I think that happens on all of them.
Well, it happens on a number of platforms. I'm just saying, that one in particular.
On LinkedIn, your accounts, right? When you're negotiating and talking on LinkedIn and you're networking with people, unless you have a touch to the person, most of the responses, if you talk to my LinkedIn, is going to be a bot. And that's 90% of the people that are, like, to your point, Chad, 90% of the people on there have that check-in tool, and then eventually I'll get a text message when it gets to a serious point where I actually have to, because people try to connect with me on there, and frankly, I don't have the time to connect with them all.
Right.
It weeds them out for me.
Yeah.
Just a pro tip for everybody: they're not gonna text you at 2:00 in the morning to offer you a job. That's a bot or a scam. One of the two.
Oh, you mean when all those beautiful ladies are sending me friend requests? It's not real.
Yeah.
There are people that literally believe this stuff. Okay, so anyway, okay. I'm not making fun of
Back
anybody.
away from all
Not
the OF
making
girls,
anybody,
okay?
Well, it's a trip, isn't it?
Okay, so we're going to give the final words, but I just want to let everybody know, and just in advance to Chad and Andy too, because I'm generally speaking the one that comes up with stuff for us to talk about. Next week, because it's something I thought I wanted to cover on here, but we're going to have to cover in a lot more extensive, and plus it gives a few more weeks out here, so we'll be 2 weeks after the murder of Charlie Kirk. We want to talk about free speech, cancel culture, and what's transpiring right now. Is it ethical? Is it right? And then individuals' ability to say something offensive that you don't agree with without having repercussions. Do we really have First Amendment free speech rights in America? Final words, guys. Andy, Chad?
I'm tired and I need some sleep. There's my final words. Final word is that there's very few home football games on Friday night within our county. So I'm planning to head to Whitewater, if at all possible, to go see the Broncos against Trinity, and I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't seen a game down there in a really long time.
Yeah.
There's the final word. Yeah.
Andy?
Woo, what a week. Just going to leave a little nugget out for those people, whoever watches this. When you're on social media and somebody posts, like I did, that I think a shot was just fired, and I'm in my mindset and my thinking it was a short blurb, and people get on there and say, what about this shooting and what about that shooting? And it's really literally whatever's going on X or other medias, the talking points that all the system starts putting out there to discredit your feelings for your post. Just think that, is this a form of gaslighting? Am I getting given stuff to gaslight the person that I know that posted this, that's not a bad person, that I actually like a lot, that I think actually likes me, but I'm going to challenge them because I'm in my emotions and I'm feeling guilty or embarrassed because I know the people that I side with, they on the other side, that just made me look bad. So instead of taking responsibility or not saying anything, I'm going to gaslight anything I see against it. Because that happened on my feed. And I almost wanted to jump on some people because I have my feed. I respect people, and I don't get on their feed when they do things. I just move on, right? But I think we need some etiquette in how we deal with our stuff online. If you want to go on your post and post about the shooting in Denver, which is horrific and all that, go do that. And if I don't give a damn about it, I won't post about it. And if I do, I'll probably show some sort of support, or maybe I'll learn something I didn't know, which almost never happens.
No, of course.
But at the end of the day, be careful when you're on your medias, and just know that those people, most of them you care about, or they've cared about you at some point in time through your walk in life. Because, I get requests from people. If I speak somewhere, I may get 8 or 9 requests, and I don't even know these people. And I don't know if it's an account that's gotten hacked by somebody else that knows a friend of a friend. And so I don't respond to everybody, and I don't let everybody on my feed. And there are some people that I'll shake a hand. I've met one time, and I just say, I don't want to be rude, so I'm going to go ahead and accept them, right? But I don't really know them. And next thing you know, they're down there fighting with my aunt. And I'm like, just have some common courtesy on those spaces for people. And don't use the gaslighting that's being given out for everybody else to gaslight the people that you care about. Just let's all be more careful, and I'll do the same thing. So that's just a little word of the wise. That's my word for the week.
Okay. I just got to say, no epiphanies today from me or anything. I just want to tell people that listen to the program, thank you. This as we move along and we grow and we're getting better in so many different ways, and people are and I appreciate the people that are coming up to me and telling me that they really enjoy the program, that they're a listener of the program, that we have good, straightforward conversations with one another. And I've had more than enough people tell me you've appropriately branded your podcast, because it really is informative, educating, and entertaining. Have a good week, everybody.
Sweet.